Back with the P2P amps Uncle Larry 5v3 Homage, and it's about ready to be buttoned up. With one decision left to be made, I'll talk to the owner after he sees this video. As you can see, I didn't change much, didn't need to change much. I have added a wire for the ground on the shield on the rear panel, and I've added the shield. I'll show that in a little bit. And I changed out these 3 pots. Remember, we had the CTS audio taper that just had nothing below 9 o'clock. So these are some alphas, which is what P2P is using now. Audio linear. He had audio here. I mean, there's nothing wrong with using audio taper for the tone circuit in one of these. It's just that to get to a neutral sound where it's not bright or dark, you've got to be up about 1, 2 o'clock. Whereas with linear taper, putting it noon gives you a pretty balanced sound. Let's put it back to about noon. Let's see here. Let me show you some close-ups of some stuff. Everything neat, using the same wires and components that they did. Everything is nicely done as it was when I found it. I try to leave things at least as good as I found them. And Mike does really nice work, so it's nice to continue that. One little change I made, which I make to a lot of 5v3s and other cathode biased amps. Mike quite sensibly had the heater balance resistors going to ground here, and that wire is still there because it was all bundled up, but I just snipped it. I removed those because while ground is a good reference for a heater, if you have a positive DC reference, it's even better. And on the cathode here, cathode bias amps, we had a free 18.5 volt DC positive voltage. So by referencing the heater balance resistors to that 18.5 volts rather than to ground, we get a further reduction in heater noise in the preamp. It's not huge, but every little bit counts. While we're in this area, there were some comments in the previous video asking whether these tubes were being biased too hot by this 250 ohm cathode resistor, and the answer is no. With 120 volts coming out of the wall, these JJ6V6S's are idling at about 12.5 watts, which is fine, and the B plus was less than 350 volts, which means that you could use a true 6V6 as well, and it'd still be fine. These JJ6V6S's, whether you like the sound of them or not, etc., are a bit overrated for a 6V6. They're 14 watt idle dissipate. These are 14 watt tubes versus the traditional 6V6, which is a 12 or 12.3 watt tube. So this circuit could accommodate pretty much any 6V6 on the market or ever made, but it also handles the JJs just fine. The JJs aren't a bad choice. They're very reliable, as long as they don't go microphonic in a combo, and these have not. Now I have put some shielding foil on the back of this panel, and I did what made sense to me since this is not a vintage one. I put a screw through here. So it's a stainless steel screw with a washer. And on the other side, I put another washer and then a Kep's nut. So this stud does not move and it will not turn, so it won't tear up this foil. And it has a good connection. And then you put this, I've got this wire installed in the amp. All right, so this goes on here. And it's a toothed ground lug, so then you just tighten this non-toothed, non-locking nut onto it. And just, finger tight is fine. It's not going to really vibrate. And then it just goes on. And I'm going to let you hear the difference that this bit of shielding makes. All right, I'm going to move the mic that I speak into closer to the speaker so you'll hear this better. So the channel volumes are off, and the tone's at noon, and this is the self-noise of the amp at idle that you're about to hear. Okay, let's recreate the test from the last video. When the amp came in, had no volume below about 3 on each position. See how we fix that now. I have to turn the mic pre down so that it doesn't blast out the mic. This is much louder than I speak. So I'm not going to talk through this point, just listen as I turn the knob. let me get set up to show you what this thing really sounds like.